Breathe, not slowly, like you do right before the final free throw when the season hangs in the air. Crypto.com pulsing, shot clock beating like a snare, and an unfamiliar calm taking over the corners because a new shooter just changed the geometry of the floor. You can feel it in the way defenders stop helping one pass away. You can hear it in the way the crowd inhales on every curl. This is the moment the Lakers stop asking for spacing and start dictating it. And the name that turns that key? You already know it, even if you won't admit it out loud yet. Here's how we're rolling tonight. First, I'm going to lay out the problem the Lakers have been trying to solve for 2 years without saying it. Directly, the half-court squeeze that shows up in Game 5s when the whistle gets quiet and the paint shrinks by a step. Then I'm going to show you the prototype guard who breaks that squeeze without stealing touches from your franchise players. We'll talk scheme fit, closing lineups, cap reality, and the defensive tax you have to be willing to pay to buy playoff offense. I'll give you the 2 or 3 actions that become automatic with this move, the matchups around the West that flip because of it, and the risk curve if the jumper cools in May. After that, we'll stop playing coy and put the headline on the table. You'll get clarity on whether this is signed, sealed, or still living in the gray. And when we're done, I'll give you my honest take, no sugarcoating. Like we're leaning over the rail at practice, watching reps. You're watching Lakers News Fan Report, the home for people who love this team the way it loves drama. If you live for whiteboard details and late-game nerve, subscribe right now, drop a like, and hit the bell so you don't miss the next video. Welcome back to Lakers News Fan Report. Let's work. Introductions first because context matters more than rumors. Last postseason told the truth in unflinching HD. When the pace slowed and every bucket required 2 pieces of creation, the Lakers leaned on LeBron to turn the nail into an operating room and AD to bend the rim into a magnet. They still can do that at an elite level. No one manipulates help like LeBron, and no one warps vertical space like AD. The issue was everything around it. When teams top-locked Austin Reeves off handoffs, ignored a non-shooter in the corner, or stunted off the weak side with no fear of a swing bomb, possessions got longer and uglier. You felt it in the second quarters of road games, and in the last 4 minutes of tight ones. The ball stuck, the reads got predictable, and the margin for error shrank to the size of a keyhole. The antidote isn't theoretical. It's not just make shots. It's a guard who can manufacture a real advantage without a screen and punish drop coverage without inviting a switch. It's someone who lives in the middle of the floor, who can pull a big to 26 feet, who cuts the help's job in half by forcing that first defender to care, and who can spam 2-man actions with LeBron or AD without hijacking the offense. It's a player whose skill set makes your stars' reads easier and your role players' lives simpler. More catch and shoot, more 45 cuts, more comfortable closeouts to attack. And it's someone who can carry 10 straight possessions on a Wednesday in February, so that the legs you need in May still exist. Now, the line you've been waiting to hear, clean and bold, Tyler Herro to the Lakers. Said like news, felt like news, circulating like news. Let's be adults about it. There's no press release on your feed, and there's no photo op at the practice facility yet. This sits in that red-hot zone where alignment meets appetite. The locker room fit makes basketball sense. The coaching whiteboard is already doodling sets that steal easy points with him. And the front office understands the price of adding a legitimate 3-level shot maker next to LeBron and AD. Call it advanced momentum. Call it the league's worst-kept secret for 48 hours. The word confirmed is getting thrown around in the wild because the trail of conversations, frameworks, and mutual interest rhymes with deals that land. Until ink dries, it's speculation with teeth. But the shape is real enough to discuss like adults who care about rings. So let's talk hoop. Herro's value isn't just can score, it's where and how. He's a pull-up shooter who punishes soft drop immediately. Snaps into rhythm threes off a snake dribble, keeps you honest on dribble handoffs, and turns the empty corner 2-man game into a high-efficiency loop. He's also a willing mover, Chicago action, wide pin downs, pistol into rescreen, who keeps the weak side alive instead of standing there asking for the ball. On the ball, he can get to the nail, float from 12, and punish the back pedal. Off it, he's a threat that the low man has to respect, which means LeBron's skip reads arrive cleaner and AD's catches arrive against a single body instead of a scrum. He doesn't need 22 shots. He needs usage pockets in the exact parts of the floor where the Lakers have been living on diet shots. Picture the late-game menu with Herro on the floor. Start with Spain, pick, and roll. LeBron, AD as the core action. Herro as the back screener who either pops to the arc for a clean three or slips into the mid-range pocket when the defense switches. You cannot hard tag AD and ignore Herro at the top. If you do, it's a rhythm catch into a feet-set bomb. Next, empty corner handoff. AD at the slot. Herro flying off a dribble handoff into a downhill pull-up. If the big show's high, it's a pocket bounce to AD's short roll. If the guard chases, Herro stops on a dime from 17. If the defense switches, LeBron eyes the post mismatch without a crowded baseline. Third, the fun one, double drag in early offense. Reeves with the ball, AD and Herro stagger screening. Herro slips after the first rub, forces the weak side guard to stunt, and that half step of help opens a spray to the corner or a late pocket pass to AD. These aren't for highlights. They're for oxygen. Yes, there's a defensive tax. Herro isn't turning into a point-of-attack bulldog overnight. The staff has to protect him inside the scheme the same way other contenders protect their snipers. Mix coverages, hide him on the least threatening shooter, scram him out of mismatches, and use length at the other wing to absorb the star matchups. The trade-off is only worth it if you can keep your base defense intact while buying the possessions his shot-making generates. That's where roster architecture matters. More minutes with a long, switchable three. More two big looks and second units to cover rebounds. More pre-rotations to the nail when Herro is on an island. You don't pretend a weakness doesn't exist. You build your solve around it and cash the other side of the ledger. The next obvious question, cost and cap. Moves like this don't come out of the sofa cushions. You're talking matching salary and at least one real asset from a future that you can't just spend like it doesn't arrive. That's where front office discipline meets the urgency of LeBron's window and AD's prime. The Lakers cannot gut the connective tissue that makes this team hum, the screeners, the rebounders, the cutters who make the boring plays that survive in April. They can, however, decide that paying a premium for high-leverage shot creation is a smarter gamble than pretending role players will keep shooting 42% from three under playoff oxygen. Structure matters too, years, options, and timing on any extension talk, so you don't wake up capped out without flexibility. Rotation-wise, the shape is easy to see. Herro starts at the two next to Reeves or shares ball handling with him, while LeBron operates as a pressure relief valve and AD stresses the rim. In non-LeBron minutes, where the Lakers have historically bled points, Herro's value spikes. Give him a roller and a shooter, spam two-man actions, and let him stabilize units that used to live on mid-range prayers. Closing time? Matchup dependent, but the default becomes LeBron, Herro, Reeves, Hachimura, AD. Against big wings who punish size, you trade one guard for a bigger defender and live with lineups that can still score. Against switch-heavy groups, you leave both guards out, force the switch, and let Herro lean into his pull-up while AD abuses the mismatch. The point isn't he closes every game. It's you finally have more than two answers when defenses take away your first read. How does this play against the West's bosses? Versus Denver, the rule has been cruelly simple. Make Jokic guard in space or you're toast. Herro's pull-up stretches drop and forces Porter Jr. or Murray into constant chase mode. That half-step of fear opens side slot drives and makes AD's roles less crowded. Against Minnesota, size is the problem. Speed is the solve. You won't bully their trees. You'll trigger rotations and attack the weak link on the closeout. Herro's value is in getting to the first paint touch without a screen, so the trees have to pick a body to help off. Versus Dallas, late-game chess dominates. A guard who can make Luka or Kyrie work on every possession, even off the ball with relentless movement, pays back on the other end when their legs disappear at minute 42. Against OKC, you beat length with pace and decisions. Herro's catch-shoot-cut rhythm blunts their dig-and-recover machine. Risk isn't a four-letter word. It's the bill you pay for ambition. The downside scenarios exist. If Herro's jumper goes cold, you're asking your defense to win you a series while carrying a below-average defender. If he needs the ball more than the offense wants to give it, you risk stalling out the very engine he's supposed to lubricate. If injuries pop up, you've paid a premium for availability you don't get back. The counter is simple. High-leverage shot-making is the most expensive currency in this sport for a reason. When you can buy it in a form that fits your stars and your playbook, you don't haggle yourself out of a season. You make sure the number is sane, and you trust your coaching to sand the rough edges. Let's get nerdy for a minute, because I know you love the clipboard. 3 ATOs you can steal on day 1. Chicago slip, weak side pin down into a dribble handoff for Herro with AD sprinting into a ghost screen. If the defender top locks, Herro back cuts for a layup. Spain flare, base Spain. PNR with Herro setting the back screen, then flaring to the wing. The tagger has to choose between giving up AD at the rim or a clean Herro 3. Stack PNR, Reeves and Herro stacked on the wing, AD screening. The first guard lift, the second dives, and the low man can't be in two places. These are not gimmicks. They're stress tests that generate dependable points in the muck. Culture matters here more than highlight reels. Herro comes from a program where shot-making is celebrated, but reps are earned. In Los Angeles, the noise is louder and the microscope is hotter. The way this works is simple. Buy into the defensive rules, keep the ball moving, and accept that some nights your job is gravity more than touches. The Lakers' veterans are allergic to empty possessions. Herro's job is to eliminate them, not decorate them. That means running the floor hard even when you're a decoy, taking the easy two when the three isn't there, and choosing good shots over loud ones. It also means wearing the target when a 9-2 opponent run needs to die with a pull-up that stabilizes the room. That's grown man basketball, all right. Status check one more time so no one gets it twisted. The energy around Tyler Herro to the Lakers feels like the prelude to something loud. People inside basketball are talking like the fit is too clean to ignore and the motivations line up. But as of this second, there's no official announcement. Call it a strong drumbeat, not a parade. Label it speculation with momentum, not a transaction. That distinction matters because reality matters. We don't sell you fairy tales here. We sell you basketball that makes sense. Here's where I land, and I'm not going to pretend to be neutral. I like it, at the right price and with the right defensive infrastructure. The Lakers have been one creator short in too many high-leverage minutes. Herro fills that gap with a skill that doesn't age badly, pull-up shooting and relocation. He's not a cure-all, no one is, but he's a pressure valve that allows LeBron to conserve bursts and AD to feast against single coverage. The tax on defense is real, but solvable if you commit to length at the other wing and keep the shell organized. If the cost lives in the assertive but sane lane, one meaningful asset, matching money, and no hostage-taking on future flexibility, you do it. Because May doesn't care how pretty your October looked. It cares whether your fourth quarter possessions end on your terms. So yeah, I hear the word confirmed being tossed around like confetti. Around here, we'll call it like this. The fit is championship logic clean, the runway is visible, and the room is shifting in that direction. Until it's official, file it under the kind of move that makes sense in basketball and in math. And if it lands, expect fewer empty trips, more clean looks, and a building that inhales every time a certain number 14 rises into a pull-up that feels, for once, like the easiest shot on the floor. You're watching Lakers News Fan Report. If this breakdown hit you where you live, if it made you see the game you love a little clearer, subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments how you'd build the closing five on day 1 with Tyler in the mix. I'll be in there with you, arguing about angles and matchups like it's June and January.